Okay, so we've been talking about the difference between elements, compounds, and mixtures. And all matter is made up of atoms. So when we were talking about how an element is made up of one unique type of atom, now we're going to go into that. What exactly is an atom? What does it mean to only be made up for carbon to only be made up of carbon atoms? So our essential question for the day is, in what ways does the arrangement of atoms and elements create predictable structures of matter? So because atoms are arranged in a certain way, they create a structure for matter that is easy for us to classify, hence the periodic table of elements. So now this one's a little bit different. You're actually going to be looking at a internet website and reading through it and filling out notes. On the website, there is, under the note outlines, you can go to the web quest and it gives you all the questions. So this time I'm giving you the questions. You have to go and find the notes. So in this video recording, all I'm going to be doing is showing you where on the website that you can find the information for each of the questions. Okay, so now you're going in and filling in the notes. So this goes with learning target 15. You should be able to create a model of an atom and be able to explain all the parts of an atom. Well, we can just keep it on there. Okay, so you should have printed this out or gotten a copy from me. This is the web quest. It's got all your questions. You're going to be writing your notes. The website that you're going to go to is this link. Okay, so let's take a look at the first question. What is an atom? So if you go to this website, over here, this overview is going to give you a lot of tools to click to. The first page you go to is talking about atoms, atoms around us. So this first two paragraphs gives you a definition of what an atom is. It's a particular term used to describe parts of matter. Okay, they are the building blocks of matter. That's pretty key. Okay, so that is what you would need to read to find the answer to the first question. The second question, what are the three major parts of an atom? Whoops, sorry. Okay, so when it's asking about the parts of an atom, you're probably going to go over here to this overview and click on structure, because structure is talking about the shape of an atom. So then that will give you the parts. So again, pretty key, atoms are building blocks of matter. They're the basis of all chemistry. They're the reason why we have a periodic table of elements. So atoms, in the study of atoms, are in the world around us. They help us discover our world. Okay, so the parts of an atom. So what's inside an atom? What's smaller than an atom? There are pieces that are smaller than atoms. That's what makes up atoms. You've got here in green electrons, neutrons, and protons should be down. Protons are down here. Okay, so those are the three parts of an atom. So you're going to want to read through this page about the structure of an atom so you can get a general idea of what atoms are made up of. You're going to get a lot of information about the proton, electrons, and neutrons. Okay, next question. What does an atom look like? Draw a diagram with the location of each part of an atom. So if you could keep it on. If you look at this page right here, I don't think you need to move from it necessarily. Because look here, it gives you a picture of an atom right here. Here's electrons, and then protons and neutrons are located inside what we call the nucleus of an atom. And then surrounding the nucleus of the atom are the electrons floating around the protons and the neutrons. So I would draw this picture. You could also go to, let me take you there. If you go to Google Images and type in atomic structure diagram, okay, you can get all different sorts of pictures to help you, because you might want to, I would draw more than one. Okay, so it's showing you, again, protons and neutrons are in the center of the atom, electrons are on the outside. Okay, they call that center part of an atom the nucleus. So the nucleus contains protons and neutrons and electrons. This one I actually like a lot. Okay, because you've got your nucleus labeled, the center of an atom. That's what nucleus kind of means. You've got your protons and neutrons in here, electrons on the outside. But again, this is your notes, so you choose what you want to put in. I would put in at least 2 diagrams. Okay, the next question is describe a proton. Let's just look at 4, 5, and 6. Describe a proton, a neutron, and electron. When you go to this website, keep it on the structure for right now. Okay? What I would do is after you've read this, you probably already have the information. You've got this negative, positive, 0 next to proton, electron, and neutron. That's talking about the charge that each one has. So in your notes, you're going to want to put the charge of each part of an atom. So an electron has a negative charge, proton has a positive charge, neutron, the 0 means a neutral charge. And then you're also going to want to put down where they are located in the atom. So a proton is located in the nucleus, electron is located outside the nucleus. You're going to want to put that down. Then if you notice, there's actually on the overview a whole thing on electrons. I would read this and put down some information from here on the electrons. Then there's another section on neutrons. Go to neutrons. I would read this section and write down some more information on neutrons. Now there's not an overview on protons, so you don't need to go to that. But definitely go to the electrons and neutrons to add some more information to your notes. Okay, the next question is where are the protons and neutrons found? Again, you can go back to your website, go to structure. You can tell me, where are the protons and neutrons found? What did we call this center part of the atom? Next question, what is a nucleus? You should be able to describe that from the structure page. The next question, what is the charge of each part of the atom? We've already described that. It's right here. Put it down in your notes. Where are the electrons found? Okay, come back to structure. Where are the electrons found in comparison to the protons and neutrons? Then, why can't we really know the exact position of an electron? Questions 11 and 12 are asking about electrons. So that's where on the website you want to click on electrons. Okay, so while you're reading this page, you want to think to yourself, why can't we know the exact location of an electron? Okay, so you're going to want to read that page and put that in your notes. What is the electron cloud model? Draw a diagram. So let's go here. See if this is going to have it. Shells and shapes, clouds. The second paragraph is talking about electron clouds. So you're going to want to read that. Now, you're probably asking, well, where's the diagram, Ms. Stevens? I don't see one on this page. Well, let's find one. Okay, so you're talking, when you're reading about the electron cloud, you're seeing things like shells and orbitals. So I go over here and click on orbitals. Okay, so now it's going to talk about electrons, how they're always moving, and then it's going to talk about, some basics to the orbitals or shells. Okay, now this is a little bit harder way. The other way you can do is go to your Google again. So if you go to Google Images, type in electron shell diagram, you're going to get a lot. Okay, the one that I like is this one right here. Okay, so this one, I'm just going to blow it up a little bit bigger. Okay, we've got the nucleus of an atom. And then electrons are located in these shells outside the nucleus. What this is showing you is how many electrons each orbital can hold. This one can hold 2, 8, 8, and 2. For our purposes in 6th grade, we're probably only going to deal with the first 3 shells that electrons are in. So when you do this, you're looking at how many electrons an atom has, and you're going to put them in the shells. Now, you'll learn how to do this in the next section of notes. But you might want to draw, you're probably going to want to draw this diagram in your notes on what does an electron cloud model look like. Question 13, what does a happy atom have to do with bonding? So, the question is asking about bonding. So what I would do is come again, look at your overview, and look here, there's a section on bonding. Click on bonding. You're going to read about the basics of bonding. Look here. talking about happy atoms. So you're going to want to read this paragraph and figure out what does it mean to be a happy atom. And then it's going to give you some examples of how atoms bond. So this is the page where you're going to find your answers to question 13. Okay, the next or the last question is what kind of forces create compounds? So let's go again and look at our overview. So the question is asking about compounds. So we're going to click on, in the overview, there's two parts to compounds. Click on the first one. This is going to talk about compound basics. And then if you scroll down, it's going to start talking about forces, chemical forces, physical forces, intermolecular forces. So you're going to want to read this page to help you answer that question. What type of forces creates compounds? Now the next one on compound names, I don't have a question on it, but if you want to, this would be for your information on how we get the naming for compound. You can read it because there might be an extra credit question that can help you get above proficiency on this one. So if you want to read this page, it might help you get those above proficient, those 4s on some of the left-hand activities and labs. Okay, so hopefully after you've gone through the web quest and read all the pages that I just went over, you should be able to create a model of an atom and be able to explain the parts of an atom.